This is weird. Now it's getting incredibly cringe. Netflix is about to adapt one of the more infamous serial killers in American history and turn him into a Sigma male TikTok edit for men and pretty much a sex thirst icon for women. That's where we are now with Hollywood. This is as shameless as it gets, and I can see right through you, Netflix. I can see right through you. You are transparent to me. We started with the Jeffrey Dahmer TV series as the start of this monster anthology to talk about all these infamous killers. Then we went to the Melendez brothers, and now we're doing Ed Gein, who is going to be played by Charlie Hunnam. And I gotta talk about this because this is a bit crazy, y'all. Alright? Now, serial killers have been glorified in TV history before, many times, alright? We've seen it with the show You, which is one of the more egregious forms of glorification of a psychopath or a serial killer I've seen. We've seen it in Dexter. Now with Dexter, this dude is basically just a vigilante killer with endless plot armor. He doesn't feel real at all. He feels more like a comic book character than anything, to the point where the TV show itself ran out of ideas after the first 4 seasons. I've heard good things about Dexter Resurrection, but there's only so many times before you can just get repetitive with a character like this. And then You, which is like, you cast this dude who's a heartthrob from Gossip Girl for a reason, alright? You know you wanted all the girls to watch this show just for him, despite him doing terrible things. Love stories with him and different women half the time. Like, I know what Netflix does. I know. They think they're smart, they think they're subtle, but they're fucking not. But at least those shows are fictional. You can forgive it because they're not real. There's no real victims of families that are getting affected as a direct result of you glorifying these idiots. This shit? We're talking about real killings here. It comes down to the argument, is this exploitation of certain tragedies for the sake of money, or is it art? Is this a real look inside the minds of a killer as a way to show audiences the consequences of what happened and as a warning against this kind of thing? Well, maybe it started out this way, but right now it's coming off as blatant cash grabs to me. I think anyone with a brain can see this. They saw the success of the Jeffrey Dahmer series, and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna milk this shit. I think a perfect killer to adapt for this kind of series is John Wayne Gacy. Why? Because you can't really do this kind of character and glorify him and make him all hot and sympathetic for materialistic reasons to a lot of audiences, because he's a fat dude who dressed up as a clown who killed a bunch of boys. There's only so much you can do to make audiences sympathize with him and make him find him attractive enough to keep watching, right? I think you can make a real scary show with this dude. There's already been many adaptations of the character, but Netflix loves to find killers that they can cast models for. Like, you don't need an Ian Somerhalder to play a killer, y'all. And you know what? They're probably going to find a way to figure out how they can get a good-looking actor to play John Wayne Gacy. Let's just be real about it. Netflix is the new CW at this point. I think Netflix only wants to adapt killers that they can make good-looking, charismatic enough to get certain audiences to watch, and get those audiences to sympathize with him for wrong reasons, in the same way Ted Bundy was able to get women and many people in the courtroom to sympathize with him despite him being a literal killer, right? There's just a reality that there are certain people that draw others and can build an audience of people who like them just based off the way they're able to speak and command presence and the way they look. I have problems with the Zac Efron adaptation of the Ted Bundy in that one movie he made. At least that makes sense. Ted Bundy was a ladies' man himself. He got women. A lot of women found him good looking, right? Casting Zac Efron, I can understand that. But Netflix is trying to do this with everyone. They're carefully selecting killers. John Wayne Gacy is one of the scariest killers ever, and you adapt Ed Gein over him. Why? Because you need a good looking dude to play him. It's very hard to do that with John Wayne Gacy, a killer clown at the same capacity, okay? Now, I like Dahmer. I like that show. I think, even though it had its controversies, I think it's pretty well acted, pretty well directed for the most part. I think the production quality speaks for itself. I think it's a pretty decent TV show. I was kind of on the edge of my seat, all right? It gripped me, but the finale kind of fucks everything up for me, because the finale, I think it's either the finale or the second or the episode before the finale. It's about God. There's one episode where everything gets religious, and they use this whole theme of divine intervention. John Wayne Gacy literally, there's reference to John Wayne Gacy getting sentenced to death. At the same day, there's an eclipse, and there's literally a line about how, oh bro, if this doesn't prove that God is real, I don't know what does, right? And there's a whole story arc about him becoming a Christian and being found by God, right? Before getting killed. He gets killed by another dude who believes in the God of vengeance. And his death the way it's directed, the music, everything, it's like that episode showing his death is like a spiritual divine event. Dialogue about the existence of God and can you be redeemed and can you be found. And the way his death is done, it's like the whole episode surrounding it is like divine. It's like a divine intervention event. They're making his death as spiritual as possible. If that ain't glorification, I don't know what is. All right. Granted, I like the episode. I like the show. I'm just saying, it comes off disingenuous when you dramatize such an event to the degree that you did. Realistically, this is a serial killer who claimed to be found by God. There's many criminals who do it, and you don't believe half of them. And he's killed by another dude who believes in God, but was angry at him for killing black dudes like him, and he basically bashed his head in with a pipe. And the show tries to make this as spiritual and cathartic as possible, to the point where it's just like, bro, you're making me feel bad for this dude who's a monster. You're literally trying to make me feel bad. And I guess that was a point of the show, but it comes off disingenuous. There are real victims of the families at play here. This is a problem. It gets very muddy. This show, I have no idea why the hell it was made, especially under the monster branding. It doesn't belong. When I think of monster, I think of literal serial killers. These are not that. These are two dumbass, spoiled rich kids who killed their parents. Now, granted, here's where things get muddy, because there's claims of abuse and sexual abuse happening, and it was self-defense, and the show gravitates towards those defenses a lot, to the point where a lot of people had problems with the show. There was controversies about, bro, you're being insensitive to the victims by giving them such hardcore defenses, right? Now, the show does show a lot of perspectives. It doesn't just show them as victims, but there's a whole scene where he's talking to his dad about how he abused him, like, you hit me, that is abuse, and his dad said, I should have hit you harder. And this entire scene, this entire arc it's painting them in a victim light, especially when there are references to the sexuality of these characters, which I'm going to get to later. But this show, it's trying to be everything at once. It's trying to be the show that's literally showcasing the brutal crimes of this and documenting it, but it's also trying to show you all the perspectives, to the point where it becomes tired, right? It doesn't know what it wants to be. It wants to be, oh, but there's some gray here, because there's more to these two guys than just being killers. They were abused, all this stuff. But then it is showing them as that, and it's trying to muddy the waters on purpose. It's trying to show you multiple perspectives, which I can appreciate, but the show itself is not good as a result of it. It's nowhere near as strong as the Dahmer series, and it still has twice the controversy that Dahmer did. So what the fuck was the point of even making it? Oh, we needed to showcase the minds of these killers. Bro, what the fuck? Why them? Why the Menendez brothers? This doesn't belong under the monster branding at all. Character studies are fine, but when the real victims are involved, it gets really sus. It gets really icky, alright? And then we have this shit. Ed Gein, they cast Charlie Hunnam to play this dude. This guy. He's a heartthrob. He's a woman's wet dream, and they're casting him to play him. Really? I see through you, Netflix. I know what the fuck you're trying to do. I love Charlie Hunnam, to be clear. Sons of Anarchy is one of my favorite shows of all time. I love that show. It never gets the appreciation it deserves, in my opinion. Neither does King Arthur: Legend of the Sword, one of the more underrated movies of all time, especially in fantasy. And I love them in The Gentleman as well. I root for this dude to do well in his career. I want him to be in more big projects. I don't see him in a lot of them. So I'm glad he got this role, because it's a high-profile project. But there's an issue here. Because you're about to glorify another serial killer by casting him with this dude. They're about to make Ed Gein seem like he was more attractive and had way more charisma and bravado, and maybe even more sympathy to him than was actually the case in real life. I guarantee you that's what's happening. It is. Now, there have been things made on Ed Gein before. There have been movies. And Ed Gein's infamous for he killed two women and used their skin for fabric and couches and shit like that. Like, he was a weirdo, right? There's been many killers that have been influenced by him. You could just make a movie about this guy. You don't need to make a whole show. And you don't need to cast Charlie Hunnam to play him. But we know you need to get that female audience to come in, and you need those TikTok Sigma male edits. Right, Netflix? You know. And the marketing for this movie says it all. First of all, they have these lines up here saying, before the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there was Ed. Before Silence of the Lambs, there was Ed. Before Psycho, there was Ed, because apparently he has mommy issues too. The first two make sense. I mean, Silence of the Lambs, he's not Hannibal. I guess Buffalo Bill because of the skin thing. I don't know. Psycho. Like, they're building him up as like, oh, all the killers you know were inspired by this dude. This dude's a real bad one, you know? And then the way the posters are done, it's like a model agency, ask a swimsuit model, yo, we're doing a Halloween special. Pick up a chainsaw and look sexy while you're doing it, and look angry. That's what these posters come off as. You're trying to make this killer look as good looking as possible. You might as well just make him shirtless at this point and have him freaking diving into a fucking pool, Netflix. The Menendez brothers did some weird shit like this as well with the poster. With these two shirtless on top of each other in this like almost sexual pose. And guess what? The show will use the fact that, oh, well, they had fluid sexuality, one of them was possibly gay, as like a cover-up, you know, a cover for them using sexual imagery for their marketing. Like, we know what you're doing, Netflix. Like, don't try to act like you don't know what's going on here, right? Because of them delving into the sexual abuse and all that stuff with the Menendez brothers, there's a lot of people now saying, oh, people think male-on-male sexual abuse isn't a thing, that males can't be sexually abused. These two deserve a retrial because of the show. This show has shown us that sexual abuse for males is a thing, right? This is one of the, and I agree, male sexual abuse is a thing, but this is one of the issues. Now you harp so much on that point that now people are saying these two deserve a retrial and all that. This is the influence that shows like these have now on people. So imagine what the hell's gonna happen with Ed Gein. Listen, Netflix, I'm gonna be honest. Ryan Murphy needs to fuck off. Don't be involved in the show anymore. You don't know what you're doing. But regardless, no false sympathy for this dude. And please do not give him aura farming moments that can be clipped up on TikTok. Please! Alright? We do not need this dude to look badass and have great synth music playing in the background. And people are like, oh, yo, I gotta make an STP interlude song with this dude. I gotta edit Metamorphosis into this. We don't need a million TikTok edits of this dude with Patrick Bateman and all these other freaking psychos that shouldn't be in a Sigma male edit but are for some stupid reason. Stop this. Netflix, I know what you're doing. Humans, they love to hate. I myself am one of them. We love to hate people, but we also love to glaze people for no reason. We support the worst figures at times. I'm telling you, the last thing we need is, if there are actual serial killers who are alive in prison today, which there are a lot of criminals, the last thing we need is Netflix shows creating a fan base of people that can glaze these people and send them letters and shit. You know how killers get sent letters to prison, like fan mail? The last thing we need is these killers feeling a sense of pride of their achievements with all these fan bases that are built up around them. That's the last thing we need. I do not want that. Now, the Menendez brothers hate what the show did, the way it adapted them, but I guarantee you there's a contingent of fans who support them now. It's proven. You can read online that people are asking for a retrial, and if they are truly evil, like many people think they are, I think these guys are scumbags. I don't want these guys getting fan letters glazing them, and I don't want killers like GEIN who are alive getting the same kind of glaze. That's a problem, and Netflix is adding to that, and the victims are suffering. The victims and the families of the people who died are suffering as a result, okay? I see through you, Netflix. I see through Hollywood as a whole, but Netflix, you are the new CW in my opinion. You don't need to be doing this, alright? I dare you to do one on John Wayne Gacy. There's a reason you're hiding from that, because you know you're not going to be able to do your usual tricks. I hope you do. I hope you do make one on him, because I think it could be good. But you're not going to be able to use your usual tricks. You're not going to be able to pull a CW and cast some model and make him look as badass and sexy, but as sympathetic as possible. You're not going to be able to do that. You are the new CW. I know what you are. Netflix, in my opinion, is becoming the new CW. And the Monster series is proving it. This is worse than the CW, because while Netflix has better production quality and better, you could say, writing and acting maybe, which is debatable because there's a lot of Netflix projects I see are dog shit. I look at Netflix now and I see half of it's cannon fodder, bro. I would never watch this even if you put a gun to my head. I'm telling you, Netflix is glorifying serial killers now, and it's getting weird, and it needs to be stopped. Alright? Stop it. Just do the true crime. The documentary true crime shows are enough. People love that shit. Why do you need to adapt these storylines and get hot actors to play them and make them as sympathetic as possible? The true crime documentaries speak for themselves. Oh no, we need to make money. Oh no, but we're also diving into the human mind and giving a warning to people like this. Stuff like this happens. No. You're doing it for money. You don't, Netflix, you're a business. You don't give a fuck about, the families and the victims of this crime and showing how deadly these crimes are. No, you don't care about that. You just want money. You want to have your cake and eat it too. I'm here to tell you you can't. As long as I exist, I'm going to be harping on and coming after all of you dumb fucks in the industry, alright? Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a mission to take over Hollywood. But the army must keep growing. If you want to suggest video topics to me, or talk about your favorite movies or favorite film theories in a community with like-minded individuals, join the Zafy Discord now. Link is in the description and the comment section as well. Join us. This movement is just beginning. We're taking over Hollywood, one coke line at a time.